We're on a bit of a hot streak of no blanks in the last 9 captain picks. In fact, we've only had 3 blanks in the last 24 game weeks. In perspective, Haaland Perma-Captain has had 8 blanks in that time, and he missed some matches in the second half of last season due to injury. Make sure you subscribe so you can improve your captaincy record this season. Haaland is on a bit of a hot streak himself at the minute. He's not blanked once in the first 5 game weeks this season. Now he's facing Newcastle away. Salah has blanked this season. Nevertheless, he has had a great start. He's got an away fixture as well. That's against Wolves. Saka's the only player on the shortlist to have the home advantage this game week. He plays a promoted side in Leicester, but let's see if they've got the weakest defence. I will discuss that later on in the video. At a glance, his fixture is very promising. However, he has got the worst underlying stats so far this season and the lowest output. It's Haaland who's got the best, and that's even with in-game 1 less point for every goal scored and 1 less point in the XG calculations as well. Whilst the stats are starting to take shape, it is based on a small sample size of just 5 matches. Haaland's stats will regress. I know I keep saying that every video, but you can bookmark this video if you want. When it comes to the end of the season, there's no way he will overperform by that much. With the way probability works, it's extremely unlikely. The other 2 players' stats are likely to regress as well. They're still overperforming, but not quite as much. Either way, the expected numbers are still promising. There's not that much between Haaland and Salah. Either way, it's clear to see that Haaland's got the best underlying stats and the best output, and it was the same last season as well. He was slightly ahead of Salah. To be fair, it does level the playing field a little bit that Salah and Saka get an additional point every time they get a clean sheet. While Saka's stats aren't quite as promising, he is the main man on indirect free kicks and corners at Arsenal, which increases his assist potential. Salah and Haaland have the odd chance of taking a direct free kick, but they're not the main men on them, therefore there's not a high chance of it. All 3 players on the shortlist are practically nailed on penalty duties. I would usually say that Saka could possibly give them to Odegaard like he has in the past, but Odegaard is injured. So whilst there's slightly less creativity in the team, it is balanced out that Saka's got a high chance of taking his penalties. And whilst this video is being recorded, there is a slight chance that De Bruyne could miss this next fixture. Obviously Haaland's an elite player anyway, but with De Bruyne being one of the best creative players in the world, if not the best, it does just lower his ceiling a little bit, although it is still a very high ceiling. In fact, he has got the highest anytime goal scorer odds again this game week. He's 7% ahead of both the other players. However, with Saka being 17% more likely to register an assist this game week, he's got the highest anytime return odds. He's got less than a 1 in 3 chance of blanking. I do like the fact that Haaland's odds are weighted more towards goals, but don't forget the other 2 players are midfielders. They do get an extra point for every goal scored. So I'd say that Saka's got the better weighted odds and the better odds overall. I'd say Salah's weighted odds are similar to Haaland's. Before we move on, it's crucial to remember that these odds are based on the assumption that each player plays 90 minutes. That's quite an important comment this game week because there has been midweek fixtures for Salah and Saka. We will take a closer look at the expected minutes later on in the video. However, the points projections do factor them in anyway, and it's Saka who's got the highest points projection overall with 7.2 on FPL Review. Salah's only 0.1 behind, but on Fantasy Football Fix, it's Haaland who's got the highest with 7, and Salah's 0.1 behind again. So both data models completely disagree with each other this game week. They've got them in reverse order. Although I would say Haaland is slightly behind, his average is 6.7. Salah and Saka are neck and neck with the average of 7. When we take a look at the opposition's defence, it is important to bear in mind that there has only been 5 fixtures, and this doesn't define who's got the best defence. To be honest with you, the numbers are all over the place. Newcastle have got the worst underlying stats, but the best goals conceded per 90 minutes, and it's the other way around for Wolves, and Leicester in the middle for both statistics. Newcastle have the least promising underlying stats so far this season, although they do have a better goalkeeper in Nick Pope. And whilst Leicester's defence has performed as expected, they are still a promoted side. They're actually just 0.1 expected goals conceded per 90 minutes behind Newcastle, and they've got the lowest clean sheet odds. If you consider the stats of last season, which is 38 matches, a more reliable sample size of data, Newcastle's defence was slightly below average. They had a lot of defensive injuries. Same with Wolves actually. They were slightly worse than Newcastle. They weren't the worst in the league, but they were pretty much down there. Leicester are a promoted side and the jury's out on them until they prove it wrong. Don't forget they also have to travel away to the Emirates, whilst Wolves and Newcastle have the home advantage. These stats on the screen are both home and away. So therefore, I'd say that Leicester is the easiest fixture this game week out of all the players on the shortlist. But Saka is at a disadvantage that he played less than 3 days before this fixture for 71 minutes. Salah did play on the same night as well, but he only featured for half an hour, and that's why he's got the highest expected minutes on the shortlist. Whilst Haaland featured for 90 minutes, he's had the most amount of rest. He's nearly had a full week. Now it's time to conclude. I'd say Salah's my second favourite option. I do think he's got the second easiest fixture against Wolves away, and his ceiling's considerably high. I am a fixture man, and I do think the best captain this game week is against Leicester at home, and that's Saka. So I'm laying a bet against Haaland to see if I can get 10 captain picks in a row without any blanks. Make sure you subscribe so you can follow my journey and improve your captaincy record this season.